Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on roguematter.com, facebook.com/weareroguematter, youtube.com/roguematter, twitch.tv/weareroguematter, and twitter.com/rogue_matter. We take this lovely produced video that you see on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and Twitter and turn it into the greatest podcast known to man or woman. And it is on all major podcasting apps. You can get us on Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeart, Apple, Google, anywhere podcasts can be downloaded. I am your host, Michael Dolce, as always, joined by my cohort in crime, the enigmatic, but never superfluous, Mr. Hassan Godwin.
Oof.
It's not bad, right?
Sprung for the bigger words today, huh?
Well, I was told there's a lot of people have told me I'm a very high energy person, right? And I've actually told people the more tired I am, the higher energy I get when I speak. I've actually I've been president of different organizations, and they're like, "Wow, what did you have? Did you have like 5 cups of coffee this morning?" And I'm like, "No, I got 4 hours of sleep last night." And then I've eventually just then I peter out by the end of the day. So you've got me for a solid 30 to 45 minutes, possibly more. We'll see. And Aaron said 4 hours is a lot of sleep. I don't know about that. Erin Donnelly, our producer extraordinaire, working backstage as well too. Want to give her a shout out. We never give her a shout
vampire.
out.
Erin Donnelly.
Very much so. Very much so. Well, the three of us are all in the same location, radius, I should say. We were all in New York.
Same tri-state area.
I was just at the convention center setting up booth 4037. It's the Dren Productions booth with a fellow Rogue Matter creator, James Masia. That is his company. He's got a lot of great stuff. The Sire Studios will be parked there with him as well too. So we will be doing a whole bunch of stuff. Starting tomorrow, we will also have special guest star Hassan Godwin stopping by the booth as well too. So please check us out. We will do a preview in a little bit. I'll show off some photos because I was just there, just to show proof that I was. In a minute, we're also going to go all around the Rogue. We've got a couple of interesting things on the docket, including: is Andor the best produced Star Wars that's ever been? Is DC's search for the next Kevin Feige a lost cause? And we are going to surprise Aaron with this and do a little Black Panther 2 question as well too, because that is fast approaching. But first, major announcement: Rogue Matter. This is Rogue Matter Presents. The major announcement is, for weeks I have been telling you people, this stuff is all free. Go check out. We have Making Markham issues 1 through 3. That's a complete set. Time Trader, that done by yours truly, issues 1 through 4. That's a complete story arc. We have Kingdom of Tundo issues 1 through 6. That is an almost complete story arc. Issue 7 is hitting in the next couple weeks. We have ebooks like Seal of Fire, Emergence, with covers by my co-host right over here, along with writer James Masia. We have Key to the City, another ebook series that's Quantum Leap, but set only in New York City. There's so much stuff that we've got for free. And I'm sitting there saying, I don't know how much longer we can do this. Well, we have an actual answer to that question, Hassan. Not much longer. For the next month, consume it now. Everything must go. It's not really everything must go, but it's essentially everything must go away. And Rogue Matter is the preview year that 2022 was for Rogue Matter is coming to an end. And we're ready to mean business in 2023. So what does that mean? Still means there's going to be so much stuff that's free to consume, but we want you to join the community. That's what we're hoping you do. We're building a community starting the end of this year into early next. I'll have a definitive date by next week's podcast, but at least for the next month, up until November 15th, everything is still free to read. Go consume it on the site. You can download the mobile app if you want to as well too. That's going to be going away as well too, because who needs another app on their phone? That's the other thing that I would sit there and say that's another big pain. But we're going to be doing a whole lot of cool things, and giving exclusive benefits to the folks that truly enjoy the Rogue Matter content. We've got Kickstarters coming up. We've got a whole slew of stuff coming up in 2023. So consume it now. All right.
Nice.
That was our Rogue Matter Presents. Moving on, I just mentioned I'm exhausted. So the whole reason I brought up that I'm exhausted is not just the hours of sleep I got, but also the fact that this was Comic-Con move-in day. New York Comic-Con is back. It kicks off tomorrow night. Tomorrow morning. And I was there. So Aaron, if you want to run the slideshow of pretty vacant photos, this is like the calm before the storm. I don't know if Hassan, you've definitely been, because you and I have both been part of the convention experience. Like the day before, the madness, right? Like the day before the madness, it's kind of like, it's just, it's kind of empty and people are moving in, and people are getting set up, and it's this weird, like, it's just weird if you've never been to been on a staff or been working a Comic-Con booth, be it New York, be it San Diego, be it Chicago, any of these. It's eerie, because tomorrow that whole hallway right there is going to be flooded with.
Well, yeah, hopefully not. I mean, Saturday is going to be these pictures in contrast with a Saturday picture is going to be.
Oh gosh, yeah. No, but in years past,
incredible.
Now pre-COVID, Thursday was just as hot as a Saturday. Like there's no differentiator. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, there's no question about it. So these are some shots I took earlier today. Again, you can just take a look. Everyone's just kind of getting their footing in, getting their stuff going. It's not exciting looking. Trust me. You're not missing the audio audience. The listening audience is not missing anything. It's really just a bunch of pictures.
We'll upload the pictures so that you can just download them from the audio. You can see the nothing that we're looking at right now.
Exactly. But it's just Aaron, you can clear them away if you'd like. But that's the beauty of it right now. It's basically it's just the calm before the storm. Significance to this show this year as opposed to last year was a big question mark. Last year there was no San Diego Comic-Con. Last year there were Comic-Cons, but it was sparse. And some shows had to get canceled, some shows had to get abbreviated, some shows had masks, some shows didn't. Some, there was just it was Thunderdome. Like anything went last year. And New York Comic-Con specifically last year was purposely capped at 50% of the audience. There's a nice shot from last year. Sorry, not last year. This is probably from years past. I don't exactly know what year that shot is from, but that is just a juxtapose the one photo that we had of the empty hallway. It's going to eventually become this. So last year was just a big question mark. We didn't know, like, not only was it a big question mark for people attending, but people exhibiting. We had to wear masks last year. We have to do so again this year. The other question mark was, I mean, as funny as it is to say this, last year's New York Comic-Con was the first time I'd left my house 4 days in a row, 3 days in a row, 2 days in a row. I mean, there was, you know what I mean? Like I was leaving the house, but never in consecutive days because of COVID. And if you went out and I mean, this was just being transparent as to what I felt like. I was driving into New York City. I live right outside New York City. And I said, man, this just feels weird to be going. And then the next day I'm like, this feels weird to be going again. The third day I'm like, this just feels really weird to be out of my house 3 days in a row. Like, I don't think I've done that. I'm not even to go to a friend's house or, to do stuff like, so this year we had a successful San Diego under our belt. The Omicron waves have passed. So that's a good sign as well too. So it seems like people might be more ready to, kind of get engaged. There's no caps on attendance. Like I said, there are safety precautions. There's masks in place, so that's good. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like it did last year. So we'll see what does that equate in terms of attendance, in terms of, how retailers or exhibitors do at the show. I don't know. I mean, I did fairly well last year, but not what I had done in previous years in terms of, selling books and making money. But at the same time, we were just happy to be alive. So it was all good, like, we're happy to be here. I already paid for it. I paid for that booth in 2020. So what did I care? It's like at that point it was house money. So this year is definitely not the case. So no house money this year. So yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. Hassan, are you looking forward to your cameo appearance tomorrow?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I'm usually enthusiastic until I get there, and I'm like, yeah, all right,
Yeah.
definitely. I've seen it all. And like we say every year, I used to work these,
Yeah.
shows as big or some semi big, like this.
Yeah.
So there's at least a Wizard World Con was almost as big as New York Con. So, I mean, the veneer is off, like the bloom is off the rose about how like
Sure.
being caught up in the majesty of it. But they are extremely fun, and there's always a lot of stuff that you can, that you can enjoy, that you see, and they're sort of like industry reunions for people that you haven't seen, since last year or for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So, that's the upside.
We get to see Aaron in person.
Yes,
saying that that's very
time.
true, actually. Which was again not an uncommon occurrence prior to COVID, so that was cool.
Yeah,
we're back, baby. We're back.
I don't know. I never say we're back. I never say prophetic things because it always backfires.
True.
So it's good to be. It will be good to be there. It'll be good to be out. It'll be good to hang out. And just see. I'm not going there to see anything in particular. Like I don't know what's going on. Like there's supposedly things happening. There's supposedly, events going on for the weekend, and there's supposedly some kind of surprise movie being played or something like that. I have no idea what any of it is. Yeah,
they always do a nice job of that, though, right? I mean, they've done like they screened Ghostbusters there last year. That was a big, to do. I mean, that was like a big like thing that happened last year. I mean, in general, I feel like they do a nice job of, coming up with things that are exciting that make the in-person experience exciting. Because a couple years ago they did the Comic-Con online, and it's not the same. It's just not the same.
Yeah, of course not. It wouldn't be, and that's like a fair assessment. It's like, no, this isn't my Comic-Con. But yeah, I mean, like, it'll be. I mean, who knows? I'm not looking forward to it. The only thing I don't really want to deal with is the travel. Just like the getting all the way down to the worst thing about New York Comic-Con is the location of the Javits Center. Because it's just this weird place in town that it's just kind of sort of remote and a little hard to get to. And I mean, the area is coming up, but it's almost an inhospitable area, for many years it was an inhospitable area because there wasn't a lot to eat. There wasn't a lot of places to go to, to unwind, to just kind of hang out before you go. And now that the area is coming up a lot, so it should be interesting, in a couple of years, it's going to be completely different. It's going to be a convention town, as they're trying to make it into.
The area around it too, like you said, it is very. I mean, it's so different than what it was a few years ago terms of, just. I mean, it used to be. There
used to be nothing there.
Right. Like
there's a hot dog stand outside.
Yeah.
That was about. That was the and whatever they were serving as food inside. And then wherever anybody was going to go after the show, it was like a 5-6 block walk. Away from the show, carrying all your stuff and feeling exhausted because you've been, conventioning all day. So, I mean, now the place is coming up. Now there's things that are pretty close by. You could go places for lunch. You can, but before, a couple of years ago, maybe 10 years ago, it was a wasteland. It was empty.
Aaron just let us know hot nuts that wander down from Times Square. There's a joke there. There's so much stuff going on, so we wanted to give you an adequate preview. All of it's happening at booth 4037, by the way. Nothing good anywhere else. Exclusives galore. We've got Time Trader, issues 1 through 4, sketch collection. So I am going to be doing, I've only got 3 sets because it's a limited run of sketch covers that were printed up. I will do an original sketch on all 4 issues of different characters, and we'll be displaying that. Dren has some exclusives as well, too, so go check that out. We've got a Tales from Insanity. It's Tales of the Bizarre New York Comic-Con exclusive that features a story by me and a story by James Masia, who did Seal of Fire. So Rogue Matter might not have a booth there, but we are there And then, like I said, Hassan will be there as well too. So that'll be good. You can meet him and greet him as well. You can get all the cool stuff that we've got to offer. Panel wise, we got nothing. So don't bother. Don't go to all the panels. Just come to our booth.
Never
That's
tell about what you don't have. Just keep it what you do have.
Shameless. Well, I'm saying don't. There's no reason to go see panels. Nothing at all. Erin says she can't wait to meet you. See.
All right. Yeah. Awesome.
Actually, I'll take this back. I'm going to throw
absolutely the same right back at you.
I'm going to throw a little love to friends of the show, Comic Book School. They've got their run of panels. I think it's like Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, I want to say. Comic Book School does a great job. Buddy Sclera and his team, they teach you how to make comics. So if you were interested in all that, the editors panel he does every year is fantastic. The Creators Connection panel, where we met Erin, so that was fantastic to begin with, is always a great thing as well, too. Now, Erin, are they doing... If they're doing it Saturday night, the Creator Connection bar night, I can't make. It's my dad's birthday. Not gonna miss that. But if it's any other night, hopefully maybe it's Friday night. Ooh, if it's Friday, I can do that too. That's at Twins. If Twins is still around, right? It's Twins. I think that's the bar. So lots to do. You can meet up with lots of Rogue Matter talent. I will be being interviewed. Is that right? Is that a good sentence? I don't know. I will be interviewed.
That's not good English.
By friend of the show, Bevan, for her new podcast, which is launching with the Nessel Company. So lots to do. Lots to go. Yes, all right. Indeed. We've dove into New York Comic Con. We'll give you a full report from the floor. We'll get some photos as well, and some video, and we will happily disseminate all of that next week. All right. When we come back, go all around the Rogue. We've got some industry news. We've got a couple questions that have come up that I think demand answers, including, is Andor the best produced Star Wars that has ever been on Disney Plus? And what is the future for Black Panther 2? That movie is fast approaching and got me thinking. It's never a good thing when we come back. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture. We just finished off talking about New York Comic-Con. We like to call this segment All Around the Rogue, a real blanket statement for everything that's happening in the pop culture universe that you need to know about. First, I want to give a shout out to friends of the show, Brian Cunningham, and we don't know Chris Riel, but congrats to him. Maybe we want to get to know him. Just named Aftershocks editor-in-chief and CCO. So Brian Cunningham, formerly of Wizard, is now the Aftershock editor-in-chief. So congrats. I know we're in a way competitors because Rogue Matter also produces books and whatnot, but we want to wish Brian the best of luck there. Now, what happened to other friend of the show, Mike Martz? He was just announced as the editor-in-chief of Mad Cave. So shout out to Mike Martz as well, too, who was the former editor-in-chief of Aftershock. We'll see both of them there. I'm going to try to get a football game viewing party because Mike Martz is a big Denver Broncos fan. I'm a big Jets fan. We play each other in a couple weeks. We're both dysfunctional teams, so it should be very exciting. So I'm going to, I'll try to catch up with him and see what's happening with Mad Cave. All right, couple different things. What do you want to roll through first? Do you want to talk DC because we've been wanting to talk DC for a while. I've been wanting to talk DC for a while. A bunch of different things happening on DC's end. Or do you want to talk Star Wars? I got an Andor question based off of another friend of the show's tweet and Instagram post. Or you were mentioning it before. Do you want to talk Black Panther 2?
Star Wars. All
right. So saw this. It was an Instagram post, but it was also like a Facebook post and a tweet and all that stuff because it goes everywhere. From Brian Volkweiss, friend of the show, has been on the show many times. He's the founder of Nessel Company, the toys that made us. He's also producing Bevan's new podcast, so that's exciting as well too. He's produced so many. I mean, any comedy special you've seen on Netflix, his company produced. So like the Kevin Hart podcast, the Kevin Hart comedy specials. I think he just did he did another one recently too. Big name guys, Kevin James. I mean, he's done a ton, and so they're big time people. And he talked about Andor, and it got me thinking. So first, here's what he said about Andor, and easily the best produced of all Star Wars shows to date. Anyone not watching Andor official needs to stop what they're doing and immediately start. Here's the epitome of why I never get upset when, in my opinion, there's some not so great Star Wars, like the Book of Boba Fett and the depressingly bad Kenobi. Andor isn't just the best Star Wars in decades, but it's the best TV period since Game of Thrones season 1 and Breaking Bad season 4. Oh my God, this show. Now, I wrote back and I said to him, I said, it's easily the best produced Star Wars that I've seen on Disney Plus. I wouldn't go so far as to say it is the best Star Wars that's been in decades and the best since Game of Thrones season 1. But I think it's really, really good. What are your thoughts on his post?
Well, it's like, it's very hyperbolic, and I don't subscribe to hyperbolic, statements or protestations or anything like that. So, no. My reaction is no. But it is a very slick show. It is very smart. It is very well made. It is seemingly paced very well. It seems to have the right priorities in the sense of developing character and stuff like that. It's not very interested in spectacle. It's not interested in rushing along and giving us like a lot of grand set pieces and explosions and stuff like that. So that's pretty solid. It's an opportunity, of course, to flesh out the pre-original series era, give a little more meat to Mon Mothma and, like, say, Bail Organa or everybody in that particular era, which was flirted with Rogue One, with the Rogue One movie. So that's really good. I mean, with the technology that we have today, because most of those sets aren't built. Most of that stuff is the LED. I forget what they call that, but the LED, the surrounded stage, work stage, where most of the stuff, they're so good at that stuff now that most of the architecture is actually projected, so it looks like the sets are more fleshed out and more believable than they actually are.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic, and that kind of stuff is.
It's a little inside baseball right there. I like.
Yeah,
that.
but I mean, that stuff excites me a little more than the finished product of any show. Like, I'm always into the making of things more so than the actual finished product, because the product is what it is, but the making of things is the promise of bigger and better things, and that's always what gets me. It doesn't matter. That's not what we were discussing, but so it's.
I like picking you apart. If I can get inside your head, find out what makes you tick. I love that. I think it's
this is not
content worthy.
This has nothing to do with what makes me tick, though. That's the mistake. This is nothing close to what makes me tick. But anyway, it's very good. I think the most recent episode, it's flirting with slow. It's starting to flirt with the slow build up, which is fine. It kind of it entangles the notions of entitlement, because it's like, man, I gotta wait another week just for you to make another step, and, blah blah blah. But that's all the personal baggage that I'm carrying with me on the journey. So I think it's really good. I think it's just as smart so far as Rogue One. Is it the best Star Wars so far? Time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think. I mean, it's very hyperbolic to say it's the best show in years, best since Game. I honestly, season 1 of Game of Thrones, I could see the comparison because that was also a slow build, and this is also a slow build. But at the same time, I think Game of Thrones really kicks off. To call season 1 the best season would be crazy, because I feel like season 1 doesn't really kick into high gear until like episode 8, 9, and 10, and then season 2 just takes.
Seems like Andor is fixing to do. So it's not going to.
Right. Again, I can see the comparison. I think it's an interesting comparison, but I would not call that a strong suit. I mean, it requires patience.
Yeah, I mean,
which
that's the thing.
the internet does not have.
I never have an answer for people who's like, at no judgment. If he really loves this stuff, if he thinks this is the best he's seen since Game of Thrones 1, absolutely fair enough. Good for him. And I'm glad he's happy with it. I'm glad he's having another semi pop culture religious experience. That's great. But no. No. The greatest anything.
Right.
Every time we enjoy something, we have to apply this immediate label that this is the greatest and this is better than. It's not better than.
Right.
It is really wonderful for what it is, and I like it more or less other things. But it's not the greatest or the worst anything that I've seen. I didn't even think Boba Fett was the worst thing I've seen, or Obi-Wan.
No, it wasn't. It would look. It could be slow. It could be a little bit boring at times, and I agree that your point of it almost. And your point wasn't that it went against character, but he was always set up as this mystery, bad guy, and then to see him not be a bad guy, we're filling in blanks that were never there. It might turn people off.
The biggest criticism I could give Boba Fett is it felt very obvious that the showrunners didn't really know what they wanted the character to be until towards the end, and they were like, well, we might as well make him a hero. But that's right. See, the thing is, again, as we were talking about production and about the aesthetics and about the visuals of Star Wars, unfortunately, this usually breaks my rule of immersion. I'm so in love with the aesthetics of Star Wars. I don't really care what's going on sometimes, but I'm not going to argue with people and gaslight them and say
it's valid. I can agree with that.
I'm not going to gaslight people and say it was better than it was better or worse Star Wars just because I liked looking at it. But I'm just not quick to label something a waste or ruined, just because it didn't jump, and pop right off the screen at me. But look, Andor so far seems like the most deliberately made, well-produced Star Wars. It seems like this is a show.
A good way to put it. Deliberately made.
Yeah, that this is where they wanted to put a foundation. They want a foundation, and they want this to build other things off of. And that's what it seems like to me, that Andor is like, this is where we're putting our flag in the ground. With television.
Deliberately made. That's a wonderful term for it, and I think it actually contextualizes my viewing experience of it very succinctly. Look at me. I have no sleep, and I'm just breaking out the verbose dictionary today. No, I really do think that what you just said, deliberately made. When you're watching something, and again, I can compare it to Game of Thrones, right? It's like, wow, they knew what they were doing. They went in with a plan. They executed the plan, and you could almost see it. Yes, verbose, Aaron, verbose. You could see it in things like the Star Wars movie sequel trilogy, where you knew the way it was done, like Last Jedi or not, it didn't connect well to the first one, to what that was set up in the first one. It looked like they had no plan. It looked like they were not on the same page. Obi-Wan Kenobi, while has a lot of entertaining parts to it. I know some people I talked to are like, it's awesome, it's amazing. But I watched it going, I don't think they knew what they were doing necessarily. And I don't mean that in the sense of like they didn't know execution. Like they just... They didn't have as clear a path.
I think what I would say
as what you look at Andor.
I think what I would say about Obi-Wan is it's kind of the opposite of Andor. It tries very hard to lean on its lower budget in the wrong ways. Like like Andor makes it look like they spent an exorbitant amount of money on this show because it's like the shots are planned, the sets are built well, and everything looks like casually expensive, casually. The world that they're inhabiting is casually intricate, whereas Obi-Wan looked like, okay, we can rely on this set because we can let this set do a lot of work for us because we don't really have any more sets, so we'll just keep reusing this area over and over again, or we'll have a long shot here and it'll make it look like it's more expensive than it really was, and it just kind of felt, some of it felt cheap. Some of it felt like, look, you're only here to see Obi-Wan. You're not here for anything else. So we're only going to spend money on Obi-Wan. Whereas Andor is like, there's more at stake because nobody knows who Andor is, and it's a whole bunch of new characters, and none of the Skywalkers and none of the key characters are in it. So we really have to put all of our emphasis into world building and to character three-dimensionality and all that other stuff. And it feels like that. It feels like they are trying to entertain us with this. They're not catering to us. They're trying to get our attention with Andor. And so that's why to me it feels completely the opposite of Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was like the first X-Men movie. It's like, well, this is good enough, right? It's X-Men. Like, you guys love it, right? Just look, it's Wolverine. He's real. He's got claws, right? We don't really have to spend a lot of money on the script and all the other stuff that goes into making a movie. As my bias towards the X-Men films becomes clear, but they got over on the fact that this is the first live action X-Men movie, and you should just be happy with it. And that's kind of how Obi-Wan felt. It's like, come on, we got Obi-Wan, we got Ewan McGregor. Look at him. Come on, how can you say it's bad? And I was like, yeah, it's kind of cool to see him again, but you could have, I don't know, you could have spent some money on a couple of some of these ships and some of these sets and stuff like that. So, it is what it is, though. And I actually enjoyed Obi-Wan, but I'm just saying, it's leaps and bounds different from Andor. The look of it is leaps and bounds from Andor.
Yes. No, I agree as well. All right, let's go to the next segment in All Around the Rogue, or the next topic, I should say. I'm going to go DC. I'll make the choice. We'll close with Black Panther 2. Black Adam is shaping up to be The Rock's biggest opening. So this is from Heroic Hollywood, and it ties into some other stuff that we'll talk about with the ongoing odyssey that is just DC and Warner Brothers in general. But tracking estimates are in, and according to the Hollywood Trades, Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam is currently tracking to be the biggest opening of The Rock's film career. It has estimates opening between 70 and 75 million. Outside of the Fast and Furious franchise, Hobbs and Shaw opened up which is an ensemble, so it is, it's not
Hobbs and Shaw that I recall was sort of a disappointment. It
opened up to 60 million at the domestic box office and would go on to gross 760 million. So I think it worked out pretty good for him.
Well, the movie itself was a success, but it was at the time it opened. The opening was considered a disappointment because it was in the Fast and Furious franchise. So, like in comparison with other Fast and Furious movies, it was like a really low opening. So I remember that vividly from 2019. Jesus, that feels like 10 years ago.
Right. Different life.
Yeah.
What's funny? 2019 both feels like a million years ago, and over the last few weeks, because like the 2 years in between have now become like, I'm just speaking for myself only. I've because the last few months now have felt so normal. I almost feel like we went from 2019 to today, and what happened in between just gone from my memory. I've settled back into old routines, and I'm like, oh man, all right. So now 2019 feels both extremely far away and as if it was like last year, just to me personally. So it's interesting, but yeah, Black Adam is 70 to 75. Hobbs and Shaw opened up at 60 million. It also got the blessing from David Zaslav, who shares his confidence in that, along with Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and The Flash, amazingly enough. And it's interesting because the future of DC itself is very unclear right now. There's, on the one end, there's rumors that they are trying to actually sell, like they are trying to sell the Warner Brothers end of things. Like this merger is happening, and they're clearing all these things like canceling Batgirl and things like that, so they can get positive revenue. Because they're in debt essentially. Basically, is what ended up happening with all these mergers, AT&T buying them, and this and that. They are technically an in debt company, and they're trying to get into the black instead of in the red, so they can then just sell off the properties again. There's even talk about licensing the properties. They are now that the Hollywood trades that I read, Warner Brothers is open for business for licensing their characters to other places now. So, that DC Batman animated series or movie that was supposed to come out on HBO Max that got, shelved, is now potentially going to be on another network. It's going to be on somewhere else, that they're actually open for business for licensing. Now, David Zaslav has said, no, we're not selling the Warner Brothers name, the characters, the IPs. It's not going to be like a Fox situation, where Fox ended up selling to DC and all that fun stuff. But who knows, right? Part of what they're doing, though, is now trying to find the next Kevin Feige. Inspired by what Kevin Feige has done with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Warner Brothers has been searching for that, same Kevin Feige. What do you make of a lot of this? Now, it's all speculation because we don't know what's happening. We're not like CFOs. We don't know what the bottom line business really is. All movie studios don't make money. All movies don't make money, right? I mean, that's the way the accounting works with a lot of this stuff. But it's interesting because every time you think DC has its act together and has a direction, first it's like, let's be Marvel, but let's do it in one movie, which was Batman versus Superman. That failed. Then it's like, well, we're going to put this Wonder Woman movie out. Who knows? Oh, that's a huge success. Well, let's do Justice League. Oop, that was not so good. Let's do Aquaman. That's not going to be good. Oh, look at that. Aquaman's probably their premier franchise right now. Then you have the Batman come out and kind of restore faith again that maybe DC's got its act together. But then all these mergers and selling. I mean, what do you make of this? Is it possible to find a Kevin Feige in this mess?
No. Look, Kevin Feige wasn't Kevin Feige before he was Kevin Feige. I mean, he was born that way or whatever, but he wasn't a force. He wasn't a force to be reckoned with until he proved himself a force to be reckoned with. And the circumstances had to be correct for him to emerge as the tour de force that he is. And, the ridiculousness of all this is you're trying to buy a result before you actually try to do something in the first place. You're trying to get a win instead of running the race.
Right.
And you should be gearing up to run the race and stop trying to guarantee a win. In the process of doing, you will probably find your premier producer, your star producer who can get the work done. But you're not going to find out if anybody's up to the job until there's a job for someone to do. Right. So, if they're constantly trying to look for a guy who might be able to do a job before we even know what the job is, that's kind of stupid.
There's also an analogy too that I like to make, and I use sports because that's what I do. There are so many people that just aren't cut out to play in New York or manage in New York or own a team in New York, because New York is this spotlight, right? Everybody's eyes are on you. And so sometimes a guy might do really well in like Cincinnati, but then he'll get traded to New York, and all of a sudden it's like, just couldn't handle the bright lights. DC, because it's so, the characters are so iconic and recognizable, I feel like you are just instantaneously under the spotlight. You're under this, quote unquote, New York spotlight, which in this case is not New York, but you get the analogy I'm going with, right? The bright lights, everyone's looking at you. Everyone's on you now. You really can't even afford to mess up. Kevin Feige had such little expectations put on him. In fact, the expectations were, what a terrible idea. I think I read somewhere recently that Universal gave up the rights to Iron Man because the guy who was in charge didn't even believe that he should fly. He's like, he's made of iron. He can't fly. That's crazy. This is stupid. Let's get rid of it. Like, that was one of his reasonings for not liking the IP. Obviously, it wasn't his main decision to getting rid of it. But he basically said, he's like, this thing doesn't even, like, he couldn't even fathom the character in his head. And so he's like, this is never going to make any money. So you have that on top of no one's ever tried to do what you're doing with a movie universe. That's not going to work. you can't please a comic book audience, so that's not going to work. There was so many things happening that were trending against Kevin Feige that, you know what? He's allowed to have a clunker. He's allowed to have, I know I liked the first Thor movie, but it wasn't bad. It just wasn't as good as some of the other.
Bad one.
The second one, yes, I agree. He was allowed to make a couple mistakes because
so was the second Avengers.
Until Avengers came out, there was no pressure. There was no nothing. Now you're immediately stepping into a pressure cooker, right? It's like, who the heck wants? The only people that want that are the people that have no track record of being able to do this. Because if you have a track record and you're successful, who in the right mind is going to want to be, taking this under?
Here's the biggest problem. What would you say is like the biggest feature of the MCU? The strongest characteristic of the MCU?
They're all recognizable characters. They're all, it's got a diverse lineup. You can interchange movies, right? If you want to do a heist movie, you do Ant-Man. You want to do, a blockbuster, you do Avengers. You want to do, something a little smaller. You have, you want to try something new with an established character. You got Loki. There's different things. So
yeah, there's that. But I mean, there's a prevailing characteristic to all of it, which I believe personally is what makes it work. Is that all of it is
consistently connected?
Yes, there is. See, I knew she knew. I didn't think you knew. Everything there are stakes because everything is connected. Everything affects something else.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is an ongoing thing. The stakes are high. Right. People come because they have people will come to a brand new franchise because they have brand familiarity with all the other stuff that came before it, even if the characters in this new franchise are unknown to them, right?
Right.
If you do a movie and your movie doesn't make, $1 billion, which is what your projection of it is, it should make this much because it's this, we invested this much into it. And then the minute that movie doesn't do gangbusters, you turn around, cancel the movie, cancel the sequels, cancel everything, all the connectability to it, and start over. Then you're in effect destroying the characteristic that made Marvel what it is. So obviously, you don't even fundamentally understand what the attraction of the MCU is. But if you have a Justice League, and then let's say, okay, even if you don't build off the Justice League, you build off of the Zack Snyder's Justice League, make another one, correct all the mistakes that supposedly you made with that one, but you do that in the sequel, and you double down on it. And you show that you're capable of growing, that you're capable of course correcting, that you're capable of evolving, but also that you're serious about the material that you're putting out, that you have stakes in it, that you are trying to build a foundation with it, that you believe in the product that you're using. DC or Warner Brothers is effectively proving to us that these are just templates. These are stopping posts for billions of dollars that we want to make. And we're just going to keep shuffling things around until something hits that you people want to spend all your money on. But if you want what the MCU has, which is not necessarily guaranteed, but it's got such brand recognition that a certain level of financial remuneration,
what comes next.
For a certain level of financial remuneration is incorporated in the doing of what they're doing, then you have to be serious about what you're doing. You can't just be like, oh, well, I mean, nobody went to see the numbers on Wonder Woman 2 weren't as big as Wonder Woman 1, so we have to recast and start the whole thing over again. If that was the case with the MCU, it would all stop with Thor Dark World, or would have stopped with Age of Ultron. But they were like, no, we're going on with this. Ant-Man didn't make $1 billion like Avengers. But there's gonna be 3 Ant-Man, right? Yep. Because they incorporated it into the brand. It's all about the ultimate financial well-being of the entire franchise. It's not just one movie at a time. So even Eternals Whereas it all on its own, it didn't make, it didn't do as well as the Avengers. It's all going into the ultimate pantheon of what the MCU is ultimately.
Yep.
And so that's the thinking that you have. You have to have that 3-dimensional chess thinking in order to be a Kevin Feige. And you have to take the losses with the wins in order to be Kevin Feige. And every time you fire a CFO because his movie didn't make, then you're hamstringing your own attempt to be the MCU. And I don't think it's going to work. I think it takes vision, and I think it takes imagination. And I think that's something that Warner Brothers and the people who are behind it right now are sorely lacking. So,
well, Black Adam hits theaters October 21st. We'll obviously do a review. It's actually what I think Black Adam has going for it, outside of the fact that it's been so dysfunctional in the DC Warner Brothers, arena right now, is the fact that we haven't had a big movie come out in a while. So I think Black Adam is going to be huge, just for the fact, at least opening weekend wise, just for the fact that, like, I'm excited to go to the movies to see something big. Like, there hasn't really been a slew of, what was the last big one? Thor: Love and Thunder. I mean, that's a big gap.
And before that was Spider-Man.
Right.
So, and that was last year.
With course correction that has happened with COVID, post-COVID reschedules and, scheduling and rescheduling and things like that. I think it's got a lot going for it. All right. Final topic tonight. And it's funny because you brought something up to me in our production meeting, which I thought was interesting because I wanted to talk about this too. But this is a cheese headline, but it got me thinking, right? Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Namor looms large in 5 new posters. And I'm thinking to myself, obviously, because of everything that happened with Chadwick Boseman, his untimely passing, they've had to course correct Black Panther 2. It was greenlit originally. They're going forward with it. There's enough story in the comics left to where the sister could take over as Black Panther in this one, and you could even you could bring back Michael B. Jordan's character if you really needed to. There's enough to at least fill this second Black Panther, which was going to happen, which was greenlit, and they wanted to continue, and even just to honor Chadwick Boseman, make sure they continue the franchise in some way, shape, or form. But it got me thinking now, and this is juxtaposed to your question. What was your question? Reveal it to the listening audience, or not question?
It wasn't a question; it was a comment. I just think it's going to be
your comment.
I think it's going to be a monster, but I think there's enough standing against it where it might be understandable that it won't be. That's exactly what I said.
So what's interesting here is I was thinking to myself, this is going to be the last Black Panther movie. I actually firmly believe that. And again, this is pure speculation. I have no evidence to base. It's just my gut feeling. I'm watching this, and this headline kind of made me think about it. I think Black Panther 2 is going to be huge. I really do. But I don't think they're going to continue the Black Panther franchise going forward after this, because unless they recast the actor as Black Panther, they can say it's a mantle, but I think there's something to it. I think they're going to triumph, and they're going to leave on a high note and move on to the next franchise. And again, there's no way of knowing this, but that's my gut feeling. I feel like this is it. I think Ryan Coogler, like, if you're Ryan Coogler, why would you come back for a third? Even if it's a monster success, even if it's huge, even if they back up a truck of money to you, you don't have your Black Panther anymore. You don't have Chadwick. I mean, he was that important to the franchise. If they're able to pull this off, which I think they will, I think he goes out on top. What do you think of that?
I disagree.
Speculation?
It all depends. He's got an opportunity here to build something that's going to be bigger than his lead actor for the last one. And if he's successful in doing that, then sure, make more. I mean, if he decides he wants to walk away from it and he doesn't want to do any more because it's too painful.
Blame him. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean,
that's not how I feel about it. But I mean, if he decides he wants to walk away, then that's his business.
Yeah.
But I just don't think so. I think I think you have. I think as artistically, you have an opportunity to, to not rest on the laurels of what you made before, and to make something new, and to make it just as good. And I mean, seems like he's the kind of artist that wants to rise to that occasion. But I mean, who knows? I don't know. It depends. I'm pretty sure we're being misdirected as to what the focus of this movie is in the first place. So,
Very true.
time will tell. We'll know when we see it. And I can see it being the last one, but everybody is, ever since George Lucas, everyone's, trilogy crazy. So, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to only make 2 and walk away. We don't have 2 of anything. We don't have just 2 of anything.
No, you're right. It's usually the one or the other for the most part these days. The 80s, 2 was like, yeah.
2 was a failure almost. Like, if you made only 2, you failed, And then sometimes you should have stopped at 2, like the Blade movies.
Right.
You should have stopped before you got that third Blade movie. The trilogy can kill you, can sink a boat just as much as it can lift the boat up. But I don't know. I think Coogler is invested in this. I think this is going to be a test of his storytelling ability and his, and his capacity to world build and to invent something that's in and of itself iconic, that's not reliant on one person, but also it honors that one person. And there's a lot for the movie to carry, and I will completely understand if it fails to carry that mantle, because it's a lot to put on one simple piece of celluloid fantasy. But if he rises to the occasion, I don't see why that wouldn't write him a ticket to doing pretty much whatever he wants to do. Just like James Gunn, when he kind of unearthed Guardians of the Galaxy out of pure obscurity and made it a worldwide, household name.
Check this out here. I actually just realized this for the first time. Have you read the official synopsis provided by Disney?
Nope.
Would you like me to?
I mean, for the sake of the show, sure, but I really, I'm not interested in knowing too much before I go see it.
Marvel Studios is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Queen Ramonda, Shuri, M'Baku, Okoye, and the Dora Milaje fight to protect their nation from intervening world powers in the wake of King T'Challa's death. As the Wakandans strive to embrace their next chapter, the heroes must band together with the help of War Dog Nakia and Everett Ross and forge a new path for the kingdom of Wakanda. That is an interesting synopsis. So, I mean, we saw it in the trailer, so I that's why I didn't want to. It's not spoilerific if you've seen the trailer, which we have.
No,
they're making no bones about it.
I just believe it's going to be about something other than that. I mean, I think that's going to be the premise, the opening premise, but it's going to turn out to be a revelation of something else. Only because they're showing all their cards. If that's what the story is about, and that's just basically, okay, we got to fight this guy because he's trying to destroy Wakanda, then that's kind of not indicative with their typical marketing prowess,
It is, but it really. Oh man, I mean, I'm not upset that I read that. It actually makes me want to see it more now. Because look, the MCU. I've always said this though, is the ultimate universe to me, right? I think everything that happens in the MCU on film, which I also argue is now the Marvel universe. I don't think there's any argument now. I think the majority of people, mostly in part to how successful it's been, but also the fact that the comic book versions of all this stuff, the continuity has gotten so screwed up over the years that I dare anyone not named Tom Brevoort to tell us, what the actual continuity of a Marvel universe is in the comics anymore. I think it's like, okay, you know what? There will be another Black Panther. It will not be T'Challa, and it's not the end of the world. In the comics, you don't have to have this issue because, they're characters. They're not real people. But in the MCU, what's it matter? What does it matter that it's not T'Challa? I don't think anyone's going to not see a Black Panther 3 to support your argument because it's not T'Challa. But it's interesting that they are
only depending on how well they manage to pull this off.
Sure.
I honestly don't think that we're going to end with Shuri being the Black Panther.
I know.
Only because they're showing us Shuri as Black Panther. So, indicative of their marketing style, there is a misdirect. So but I mean, if it ends
Jordan.
with,
if I was betting, if I was a betting man,
no, that's too obvious. That's too obvious. B, he's a villain who tried genocide. So,
but this is the thing. This is the thing. Everyone loves a comeback, and Michael B. Jordan is a huge superstar. He's a huge it's like one of those things. It's like you'd like to get Michael. Who would you'd love to have Michael B. Jordan like front one of your things,
I just don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to try to build something new with it.
You tell us what you think, folks. Go comment. We will likely comment back, but really, you could just go to New York Comic Con. If you're going to be at New York Comic Con, booth 4037. You'll see Hassan and myself there tomorrow. I'll be there all weekend long. I've got an awesome Time Trader Collector's Pack. That's an exclusive. We got Tales of the Bazaar exclusive. If you back to the Epicenter book, we've got copies there. So you go pick up your copy before we send them out. Save us on some postage. Or pick it up for the first time. It's a great book. Hassan did the coloring. I did the writing. Very exciting stuff. Real quick before we go, Hassan, this is the one question I forgot to ask you. I guess it's maybe a little bit different for you. Someone asked me today, Bevan. I was having lunch with Bevan, and she said to me, she says, if you weren't working the show, at this point, what is your take on Comic-Cons? And I actually said to her, I've been working these things for so long that if I wasn't in the industry anymore, I don't even think I would go. Like, I would just be like, I'm good. Like, I've seen conventions, I've done it, I've been there, done that. But, is that the same for you because you worked for so long? I mean,
I just said that when the segment opened.
What's that?
I said it's just, these things don't even do anything for me, really. I'm over the pageantry of them. I go to see, a couple of things and then I'm out. So no.
Yeah. Well, because she was asking me, she's like, don't you want to see the panels? I'm like, no, I covered panels for like 5 years for Wizard. Like, panels do nothing for me.
Bottom line, like if you're not one of these people that needs to be in the moment, then all of that stuff is revealed seconds later on YouTube or in the internet. So you don't even have to be there. So
that's true too. That's true too. I don't know. I think it's part.
We're not doing the show any good by poo-pooing it. But I mean, look, it is.
No. I was gonna look. Let me save it for a second. I think the fact that again we've been industry people, insiders for 20 years now, maybe even less, maybe even more. Who knows? I do remember like being 22, working for Wizard, being like fresh off the boat, ready to make a name for myself in comics, and feeling like these panels were larger than life, feeling like these conventions were larger than life. This is pre, social media. You had the internet, but it wasn't what it is now. I mean, unfortunately, you can't experience, your first time. You always remember your first time, and our first run through of all this stuff. It felt like something was growing, and it did eventually grow into something bigger than life. So I just think we've just been doing it for so long. But that being said, I get very excited for the stuff I'm making. I get very excited for that. So come to booth 4037. And the stuff you made too. See? Get it signed, get it autographed.
Right.
How's that for a save? Did I do it?
I don't think you did. But anyway.
I don't think I did. All right.
I think
next week we'll give you our full rundown. We'll let you know if there's anything exciting, any big reveals, any big announcements. And like I said, go to Rogue Matter right now because all that content that's up there, it's gonna start becoming a little more exclusive following November 15th, which is which is my birthday and right around your birthday. So there you go. Consume it now. We will see you folks next week. Hi guys, Mike Dolce here from the Rogue Wav podcast. If you like this video, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps us out. Leave a comment, let us know what you'd like to see in future episodes, and tune in every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, for a brand new episode of the Rogue Wav podcast.